God is good, and with each day that passes brings us a day closer to the launch of Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. This is the Napalm channel, and if you are new here, please consider subscribing, especially if you're interested in Pantheon related content on our march to launch. Today, guys, I want to talk a little bit about telegraphing. You know what I mean. I'm talking about when there's an AoE type damage or something coming to you or your party's way, and it does these flashing neon crazy lights and arrows and pointing and run this way and do that and all this kind of thing, so that it telegraphs to the group what to do and when to do it, how to do it. They've kind of gotten out of control over the years. My favorite example of how crazy they've actually gotten is Final Fantasy XIV. If you've gotten to the end game of Final Fantasy XIV, I mean, there are some crazy ones that show you the direction they're coming from, and I mean, it's done really well in that game, I have to admit. But it's one of those things where it changes the way that you play. It changes what you're looking for, and it changes everything. I mean, in a game like Final Fantasy XIV, where you're spending a lot of your time looking at your hot bars and doing rotations and things like that, you kind of need a lot of flash so that you can see what's happening and you can react and things like that. When Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, I've talked about it before, I always wanted there to be a system where it was a little bit more telegraphed by the actual actions of the game world, and a little bit less about these cartoony, flashy, big red circles and that kind of thing. So we finally got an answer here recently on the November 26th stream with Visionary Realms, in which Chris Joppa actually answers a question and really lays it out in a nice way. So let's hear that clip and then we'll talk about it.
Are enemies or bosses going to telegraph certain big hits so you know when to use your skills?
Yes. This is something that I've been really excited for us to talk about more, and we're just not at the point gameplay wise to it's something that really needs to be substantiated by showing it in action, but something we refer to internally as devastating abilities, where you're getting a through animation, through sound effects, through trying to intentionally avoid things like ground reticles and that kind of telegraphing, but through big wind-ups, with the giant, like, just rearing back and doing this really unique big wind-up swing animation. That if you get hit by that as a devastating ability, you're going to either be one shot or it's going to be almost impossible to recover from. And those kind of abilities aren't going to only have like single points of contact either. They're going to have kind of be what you would expect with like an impact, in that they're going to do the most damage right in the center, and then there's going to be kind of a radius effect that kind of shockwaves out from that. And so when you see things like shield block, when you see things like the summoner's class passive of mana shield, and some of these other even ones that we haven't even revealed yet that have a little bit more active kind of response in mind, and I'm not talking anything like lightning fast, first person shooter, but you have a 2 or 3 second window maybe to kind of see something and discern what's happening and respond. That's what those abilities are really built with those things in mind. And then ways that you're going to even be able to improve certain abilities like your shield block and whatever, to be able to take on devastating abilities of a greater and greater nature, because the devastating ability from a mini boss is going to be different than max tier, max level raid boss devastating ability kind of things.
So I really enjoyed this answer because it kind of lets me know that sure, there may still be a little bit of telegraphing in the more modern sense of the way we think of that. There may be some. He didn't say it will not happen at all, but you will notice from his language that what he is saying is they're trying to avoid that, okay? Now, he also mentioned that we need to really show this off in gameplay, but he dropped the beans anyway, much to Ben Dean's disappointment. He did drop some beans there, telling us that it's more about watching the animation. He even mentioned sound effects in there, so there could be things like a certain sound effect could mean like a devastating blow is coming, or prepare yourself sells for something ridiculous. But the main thing that really got me interested was talking about the animation. So you imagine, as he was talking about, like a giant frost giant, you know, just with a club in his hand, he just rears it back, you know, and he lets out a roar like, ah, and then he brings it down. And of course, during that animation, you're like, oh crap, this guy's huge and he's about to hit the ground. I don't, you know, the game doesn't need to tell me that this is a big enough creature that when he hits the ground with that much force, it's going to cause a quaking effect. It's going to damage more than just the simple point of impact that the club makes. And if you aren't the type of person who's played enough games to realize that's going to happen, well, you'll learn very fastly. But what I imagine is these really cool scenarios like that one, for example, where the club comes down, it quakes the ground, you got players flying up in the air, and it just makes that giant seem that much more intimidating. Like, imagine you're just running by and there's a group, you know, out of the corner of your eye, you know, still on your screen as you're running by, and they're fighting giants, and you see that devastating blow, and the giant comes down with the club. You're not paying a whole lot of attention, you know, you're just headed to your destination, but you notice all these players just go flying, right? And you're like, oh crap! You might actually stop what you're doing, not get too close, but get a little closer just to watch this epic battle unfold. And it's not even a raid fight, right? Like, this is just a larger, beastly creature out in the wild. And you see how these things, they're not just to make the game more fun in a simple sense of when you're playing that encounter, but it causes other people to think it's fun just to watch, and it makes the whole world come much more alive. You notice that throughout my video series as I talk about new things that they're talking about or showing to us, and how they've taken a simple concept and they made it even cooler. Once again, this game, Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, is taking the MMORPG genre and evolving it in every sense of the word. And every single time that I learn something new about Pantheon, or we get another bean from Joppa, I'm even more entrenched, and I am so excited. This is what I've always dreamed of, is simple but sweet ideas like this that make the world more fun, that make the encounters more fun, that make the actual gameplay and spectating even more fun. So I hope you understand where I'm coming from with this, and I hope you're as excited as I am to start to see this. Hopefully we see something of this effect in the new Co-Carnage stream, which is coming up on December the 12th, where he's going to be playing the Warrior. We're going to get to see the new resource bar in action. We're going to get to see probably a lot more animation. The gameplay is actually probably going to look a lot different for us, even though we're going to an area that we've already been, it seems. The graphics and the resource and everything, like the trees, remember they showed us that? So a lot of these resources have been updated drastically. So I'm super excited to see what it looks like now, and also, of course, to get some new footage, because I'm really tired of playing the same footage in the background of my videos. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video today. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about this. Do you just wish they go back to the classic, or what we consider classic now, the big giant flashing bars and lights and circles and arrows and all this kind of thing to telegraph to us? Or are you more excited to have to pay attention to the actual creature that you're fighting react that way? Whether it be getting out of shield or moving out of the way or whatever the case may be. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'm very interested to hear what you guys think about that. And until next time, guys, God bless and happy gaming. Listen to what I say. I've been making videos all day. My friends all say I'm it's a video buffet. You can even hit replay. But please just subscribe. I can't even describe being part of my tribe. I'll even offer you a prize. But just please just subscribe and hit the bell notification too.